girl kept leaving me notes, then I saw her on the news. It's been 6 years, and the only thing I have left of her is a ghost limb. You know the feeling, when a part of you is gone, but you can still feel it tingling? That's her. A name on the tip of my tongue, a face I can almost see when I close my eyes. It all started with a piece of paper. I was a junior in high school, zoned out in third period calculus. My friend Zev was trying to get a rubber band to stick to the ceiling, and Marco was drawing something obscene in his textbook. The usual shit. I went to shove my notebook in the wire rack under my seat, and my fingers brushed against something that wasn't supposed to be there. A folded piece of paper. Not notebook paper, it was thicker, like from a sketchbook. Unfolded, it was a single sheet torn carefully from its source. The handwriting was a girl's, I could tell. Tight, small loops, slanted just so. The ink was a faded blue, and it smelled faintly of rain and old books. It said hello. I don't know if you'll read this. I hope you do. I watch you and your friends from a few rows back. The way you laugh, it's loud. It's real. It's like watching a movie of a life I used to have. Maybe that sounds weird. I just wanted to say it. Please don't throw this away. It's important that you keep it. Maybe if you keep it, you'll remember me tomorrow. I read it twice. Remember me tomorrow? What the fuck did that mean? I looked around the classroom. A sea of familiar faces. Nobody paying me any attention. I glanced back a few rows. A couple of girls were whispering, but they were looking at their phones. No one was looking at me. It had to be a prank. Some girl trying to mess with me. I folded the note, shoved it in my pocket, and tried to focus on the quadratic formula scrawled on the whiteboard. But the words just echoed in my head. Please don't throw this away. I didn't. When I got home, I tossed it on my nightstand and forgot about it, until the next day. First period history. I slid into my seat, and when I reached under for my textbook, there it was again. Same thick paper. Same inky, rain-like smell. This one was shorter. You kept it. Thank you. I was so scared you wouldn't. Please tell me you remember yesterday. Please tell me you remember finding the first one. This is the only thing that works. I think this is the only way. A knot of ice formed in my stomach. This wasn't a prank anymore. This wasn't a prank anymore. This was something else. I had the first letter in my wallet. I'd stuffed it there this morning without thinking. I pulled it out. Side by side, they were a matched set. At lunch, I threw them on the table in front of Zev and Marco. What the hell is this? I asked. Zev snatched them up. He read them, then passed them to Marco. A slow grin spread across Zev's face. Dude, he said, punching my shoulder, you got a stalker. A poetic one. Remember me tomorrow? Marco quoted in a breathy, dramatic voice. Sounds like she wants you to put a ring on it, Kian. They started laughing. Fucking idiots. I tried to explain the feeling, the cold dread that was crawling up my spine, but they just saw a secret admirer. I grabbed the letters back and spent the rest of the day in a fog, my eyes scanning every girl in the hallway, trying to match a face to the delicate handwriting. I came up with nothing. That night, I put both letters on my desk. I lay in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling. Who was she? And what did she mean? This is the only way? I must have drifted off, because the next thing I knew, my alarm was blaring. I slammed my hand down on it and sat up, and my blood went cold. My room was freezing. The window, which I distinctly remembered locking, was wide open, the curtains stirring in the pre-dawn breeze. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was out of place, except for one thing. On my nightstand, sitting right next to my phone, was a single pressed wildflower. A tiny purple thing, delicate as a butterfly's wing. It wasn't there when I went to sleep. I would have seen it. Someone had been in my room while I slept. Someone had stood over me, watched me, and left this calling card. I didn't tell my parents. What would I say? I called Zev and told him I was sick. I couldn't face going back into that classroom, sitting at that desk. I couldn't stand the thought of finding another note. Around 10, my phone buzzed. It was a picture message from Zev, a photo of the underside of my desk. Tucked into the wire rack was another folded piece of paper. Below the photo, a text from Zev Dude. This is getting fucking creepy, I called him. Open it, I said, my voice shaking. Read it to me. I heard him fumbling with it. Then, silence. Zev? His voice came back, low and spooked. Holy shit, Kian. It says IT worked. Oh my god, you remembered. I was there last night. I hope you liked the flower. I was so close I could hear you breathing. I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Thank you for not forgetting. My friends weren't laughing anymore. The next week was a blur of paranoia. I told my parents someone tried to break in, and I started staying at my grandma's house across town. I didn't go to school. Zev checked my desk every day. No more letters. For a week there was nothing. Silence. But I didn't feel safe. It felt like holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Every creak of my grandma's old house was her on the stairs. Every shadow in the corner was her, watching. Then, one night, it happened. I woke up suddenly. The house was dead quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. But there was another sound, faint. So faint I thought I was dreaming it, humming. A simple, familiar melody that I couldn't for the life of me place. It was coming from outside. My heart was a fucking drum against my ribs. I crawled out of bed and crept to the window, staying low. The street was empty, lit by the orange glow of a single streetlight. I waited. The humming continued, a lonely, looping tune. Then I saw her. A figure standing under the light. A girl in a thin yellow raincoat, her head tilted up towards my window. She wasn't threatening. She just stood there, humming her sad little song into the night. And her face, God, her face was so familiar. It was like seeing a childhood friend you hadn't thought about in a decade. She saw me move. She didn't startle. She just lifted a hand and gave a small wave. Her expression was one of profound, bone-deep relief. Then she pointed towards the front of the house and disappeared around the corner. My brain screamed at me to lock the door and call the cops. But my feet were already moving. I had to know. I had to have answers. The old wooden stairs groaned under my weight. Each step was a cannon shot in the silent house. I reached the front door and hesitated, my hand hovering over the deadbolt. This was insane. This is how people in horror movies die. I opened the door. She was standing there. Her hair was soaked, plastered to her forehead. Without the raincoat hood, I could see her clearly. She jumped and threw her arms around me, burying her face in my shoulder. It wasn't a romantic hug. It was desperate, like a drowning person clinging to a piece of driftwood. I could feel her trembling. "You came," she whispered, her voice muffled by my shirt. "You remembered." We ended up in the living room, sitting in the dark. Her name was Anja. "We've known each other since middle school," she said, her voice barely audible. Her eyes were huge and dark, and they never left my face. We sat next to each other in Mr. Davison's biology class. I searched my memory. Nothing. Blank. I know. She cut me off, and her voice cracked. A tear traced a path down her cheek. Nobody does. It's happening to me. I'm being forgotten. It's like I'm fading. My friends walk past me in the hall. Teachers mark me absent when I'm sitting right there. Yesterday, my own mother asked me who I was. The story was insane, a delusion, but the terror in her eyes was real. The way she looked at me, like I was her only anchor in a world that was washing her away, I believed her. "The letters," I said, the pieces clicking into place. She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I was your idea. A few months ago. You don't remember, of course. We tried everything. Pictures fade. Text messages delete themselves. But physical objects, things you touch, they work for a little while. The letters help you remember me from one day to the next. You're the only one it works on. You're the only one left." I felt sick. How many times had we had this conversation? "What can I do?" I whispered. A tiny spark of hope lit her eyes. "My dad, he's a cop. He keeps old case files in his office at home. Unsolved stuff, weird local legends. I thought, maybe there's something in there. Another case like me. A clue." She looked at me, her face pleading. "You're smart, Kian. I knew you'd think of something." She stood up, pulling the yellow raincoat back on. She stepped close and, on impulse, kissed my cheek. Her lips were cold. "Thank you," she said, her smile, the first genuine, happy thing I'd seen from her. It transformed her face. For a second, she just looked like a normal, pretty girl. Then she was gone, running out into the dark, leaving me alone in my grandma's silent living room. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, a crick in my neck. My grandmother was in her armchair staring at the local news on the TV. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the remote. On the screen was a picture of a quiet suburban house with police tape across the front door. "Tragedy in the quiet community of Northwood last night," the reporter said. "An off-duty police officer shot and killed an intruder in his home. The officer claims he was woken by sounds from his home office and confronted a figure going through his files. He says he fired in self-defense." They put a photo on the screen. It was a school portrait. A girl with dark, sad eyes and the ghost of a smile. She was so young, so familiar. "Police are still working to identify the young woman," the reporter continued. "She carried no identification, and so far, no family has come forward to claim her." My blood turned to ice. It was Anja. Her own father had shot her. He hadn't recognized his own daughter. I never got another letter. I never woke up to find strange flowers in my room. It all just stopped. It's been 6 years. The police never identified her. Jane Doe. Buried in an unmarked grave. I'm the only one who knows her name. But even that is fading. I can't remember what her voice sounded like anymore. I can't quite picture her face. The memory of her is a phantom itch. A word I can't find. Sometimes when it rains, I think I can almost remember her song.